God creates everything out of nothing. And everything which God is to use, he first reduces to nothing. The deepest form of despair is to choose to be another than himself. Happiness is the greatest hiding place for despair. Once you are born in this world, you're old enough to die. Wherever there is a crowd, there is untruth. The truth is lived before it is understood. It must be fought for, tested, and appropriated. Truth is the way. Anyone will easily understand it if he just gives himself to it. To be a woman is something so strange, so confusing and so complicated that only a woman could put up with it. A genius may perhaps be a century ahead of his age and hence stands there as a paradox, but in the end, the race will assimilate what was once a paradox, so it is no longer paradoxical. Confidence is the present tense of hope. The unhappy person is never present to themselves because they always live in the past or the future. To cheat oneself out of love is the most terrible deception. It is an eternal loss for which there is no reparation, either in time or in eternity. Don't you know that a midnight hour comes when everyone has to take off his mask? Do you think life always lets itself be trifled with? Do you think you can sneak off a little before midnight to escape this? What if everything in the world were a misunderstanding? What if laughter were really tears? O Luther, you had 95 theses. The matter is far more terrible. There is only one thesis. The Christianity of the New Testament does not exist at all. Here there is nothing to reform. Christ has not only spoken to us by his life but has also spoken for us by his death. It is better to try something and fail than to try nothing and succeed. The result may be the same, but you won't be. We always grow more through defeats than victories. The object of Christian faith is not the teaching but the teacher. Are you not aware that there comes a midnight hour when everyone must unmask? The minority is always stronger than the majority, because the minority is generally formed by those who really have an opinion. For without risk there is no faith, and the greater the risk, the greater the faith. It is not where we breathe, but where we love, that we live. A man prayed, and at first he thought that prayer was talking. But he became more and more quiet until in the end he realized prayer is listening. It is not the path which is the difficulty, rather, it is the difficulty which is the path. Most people are subjective toward themselves and objective toward all others, frightfully objective sometimes, but the task is precisely to be objective toward oneself and subjective toward all others. Love is the expression of the one who loves, not of the one who is loved. Those who think they can love only the people they prefer do not love at all. Love discovers truths about individuals that others cannot see. People settle for a level of despair they can tolerate and call it happiness. I found I had less and less to say, until finally, I became silent, and began to listen. I discovered in the silence, the voice of God. The most painful state of being is remembering the future, particularly the one you'll never have. One can advise comfortably from a safe port. The most common form of despair is not being who you are. There are two ways to be fooled. One is to believe what isn't true, the other is to refuse to believe what is true. It seems essential, in relationships and all tasks, that we concentrate only on what is most significant and important. Old age realizes the dreams of youth. Look at Dean Swift. In his youth he built an asylum for the insane, in his old age he was himself an inmate. There are, as is known, insects that die in the moment of fertilization. So it is with all joy. Life's highest, most splendid moment of enjoyment is accompanied by death. Faith is the highest passion in a human being. Many in every generation may not come that far, but none comes further. Since my earliest childhood a barb of sorrow has lodged in my heart. As long as it stays I am ironic, if it is pulled out I shall die. I begin with the principle that all men are bores. Surely no one will prove himself so great a bore as to contradict me in this. The truth is a snare, you cannot have it, without being caught. You cannot have the truth in such a way that you catch it, but only in such a way that it catches you. It belongs to the imperfection of everything human that man can only attain his desire by passing through its opposite. Because of its tremendous solemnity, death is the light in which great passions, both good and bad, become transparent, no longer limited by outward appearances.